So let's talk about Airbnb side of things.
Yeah, so right now we've got 26 rent to SAs. They profit, let's say, £800 a month, £21,000 a month profit on the rent to SAs. And we've got 40 management clients. That's 12 grand. So between them, 33 grand a month.
What are some prime locations? Can this model work anywhere?
I'll be honest, I struggle to find a place that this doesn't work. If a place has basically 4 of these 6 things, hospital, university, main link train station to London, lots of developments in the area, tourist attractions, and you can go there. If it has 4 of those 6 things, then you're normally going to be okay.
Welcome back to Take a Seat. This is the #1 channel for mindset and motivation. And yes, we've done it again. We've got someone in from Team GB. He was a sailor and he's already won a silver in the World Championships. But not only that, he's now sailing into property. And he's taken it by storm. He's got 65 units already across 12 different cities. And I think it's all to do with this guy's mindset. So let's find out about it. Please welcome Daniel Budden.
Nice, thank you for having me.
What's happening?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's all good.
Mr. 53 degrees, yeah?
Yeah, 53 years property repping it. Got the quarter zip. Yeah, you know it.
Where's that come from?
What, 53 degrees property? Yeah, so basically everyone thinks it's kind of like sailing related, but it's the latitude of the first home we lived in. So like 53 degrees, 53.00. I'll be honest, I went on ChatGPT at the start and I was like, I need ideas, I need names for the business. And yeah, 53 degrees is the exact latitude of the first house I lived in, which I grew up in. Okay. So, and it like become a bit of a family business. So it's nice to have it as that little memorial.
So it's quite personal to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So let's talk, do you know what? Let's bloody just get straight into this. Let's talk about branding. So how important is branding? What's your thought process? Because obviously you've scaled quite a lot.
Yeah.
And when you're phoning up people for properties or you're trying to do business, they are looking at your name.
Yeah, for sure. I think like a big one on this is, and this is what I thought about a lot when I first started. I went back and forth on the name loads, like trying to find I had like acrylic stays. It's like, because obviously service accommodation, I think, start with every part in business is different. So it doesn't matter, it could be any business you're in. But, I went between loads of different names. I don't actually think the name matters as such. I think, like you said, it's more about the branding and like actually getting it out there. And I think you build the business around a brand, and like 53 Degrees Property has now become a name. And like you could Google us, find us on social media, you can find us on the website and stuff. I don't think it's the name as such, especially in service accommodation or in property, but I think it's more what you build around it. Mm-hmm. So I think building a brand around the name is important, but the name maybe isn't so important.
Mm-hmm. How do you build a brand?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on it massively at the moment. I think it starts with like ultimately having an audience, and like we're building that a lot. But I think in service accommodation, how we built the 53 Degrees Property brand, I think you need to have like values as a brand, and like our values are like, the guest is always right until they aren't, which is a funny one, but the guest is always right until they aren't. But we always just was like guest centric. We wanted to provide an amazing stay, and we knew that like reviews ultimately would build our brand. And since the start, we've always focused on scaling on quality rather than quantity. So something a bit different to a lot of other people. They want to get as many units as possible, whereas actually we wanted to focus on actually building the quality, and that's now what our brand is known for. So you can go on 53 Years Property, we're a Superhost on Airbnb, 500 plus 5-star reviews, 65 plus units, and like the brand is now known for having really high quality. Mm-hmm. And like every guest that stays with us, we try and make it a stay to remember. And it's not, we don't do all the concierge and extras, but we do have a product that's better than what is currently on the market. Mm-hmm. And that's what's kind of built the brand. And like, it's actually having that value of like guest centric first, and, having that quality, that's what's built as a brand, I think.
Why do you care so much? I mean, you're turning over a 7-figure business. And for those who don't know, that's getting into the millions. You know what I mean? Like, why do you care? Like, you're making money. So what if a couple of drop off or a couple of bad reviews?
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of like what you're doing it for, right? And it's like what you want to be remembered for. And I think for me, like where it all started for me was, my dad doesn't remember this quote, but when I was like 14 years old, and I had a good upbringing, I'm not like, I wasn't like on the streets, whatever. Like my dad, worked really hard. My mum didn't have to work. She was at home looking after us. But my dad was like left it before I got up and got back kind of when I went to bed. And like one thing when he said when I was 14 was like, I wish you were around more. Don't know why, but that stuck with me loads. Mm-hmm. And like, that's kind of what drives me. And I'm eventually going to have kids and have a family. I want to have the exact same opportunities that I had when I was growing up and more, and be around for my kids when I'm older. So that's kind of what has driven me to ultimately make money, because money will provide the freedom kind of thing. And I think there's a I listened to a podcast the other day actually, and I was trying to work out, for me, I've been trying to work out that, why not just stop now? Why take it to the next level? But like, it's the fear of not fulfilling the potential I know I have is like something that is like ring really true to me. So like, it's not a fear of failure. It's not like that. It's just, I know within me, I can be really successful, and I can see it. I can visualize it, and I can visualize being so much further ahead than I am. And what drives me is the fear of not actually getting there. So that's what keeps pushing me. And I think like, you can either be scared of it and just walk away and, relax and be happy where you are, or you can embrace it and go, yeah, I really actually want to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, yeah, for me, it's the freedom that it's going to provide. And like, yeah, I'm in a good position now, where I am at my age, and like, and there's no doubt I can eventually get there. I don't want to get there. I'm like 45, 50. I want to get there when I'm, 27, 2 years time. I want to be able to have a kid, have families, grow up, travel the world, do all these things. And like, I don't not travel now. I go on holiday, like my aim is to kind of go on holiday like once a month kind of thing at the moment. So I'm enjoying what the business is bringing.
Yeah.
But like, the reason I'm trying to do it anyway is kind of like that. And the reason that I want to actually build a brand properly, I think it's going to pay off in the long run. I think you see, I could jump into chasing short-term cash now, if I pulled out some courses or whatever, but I don't want to do that because I want to be remembered for the right reasons. And I think there's a real gap in the market in service accommodation for a big management business that does it properly, that actually provides quality, has 250 units, still a Superhost on Airbnb, still providing that quality. Whereas I think people have just like scaled too fast and they just drop off. They either get to a point like, oh, this is great, that's enough money, okay, cool, happy, and they don't go any further, or they just can't control all the quality of it, and it just slowly reduces until you become a big. So that's kind of like, that's where that's why I'm doing it, and that's why I want to leave some. I don't want to be remembered for a guy who like built a business kind of then it just kind of tailed off, but he's young and he's got money. I want to be remembered for a business that's still going. Guests are still happy, people are still saying about 53D's property, and it's a household name in service accommodation management, or Airbnb management, some people call it.
First of all, there's quite a few things you've said there, and one of the first things that comes to light with me is awareness. You're very self-aware of who you are and where you're sort of like going. There's a lot of people who just do life. There's I was watching a quote or something this week, and it says the people who generally just go through the systems, who wake up Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, done my little gym regime. Okay, I go to work, and Saturday, okay, it's my weekend. Not in a bad way, but a lot of the population doesn't think. It literally doesn't think, because it's like, I've gone to work, I've got my paycheck, I'm happy. And that's a great place to be. They say the problem is when you do have time to think.
Yeah.
Because your money is coming in passively. Nobody tells you about, hey, you won't even need to go to your business because your cleaner is going to be running your business for you. Nobody's going to tell you like, hey, your friends are going to be at work, but you'll have all of this free time. These are the problems you're also going to have.
Yeah.
But when you have the ability to think, these are the people in the world who ends up having the most mental health, the most problems.
Yeah.
Because you sort of clock the game in a way.
Yeah.
Come on, like, for example, you're 25, 26, you're turning over, 7 figures, and you do want to scale, but I think that you're trying to stay busy.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like this is a really good point to touch on. Like, so I did like the classic, like went through A levels. Like when I was in year 7, 8, and 9, I was an absolute nuisance. Didn't work. Had like terrible prospects in terms of GCSEs and whatever. Got to year 10 and 11, they were like, Dan, you need to like start trying. You need to like, this is kind of like something hit me, and they were like, I was like, well, I haven't been working, so I'll just work. And then worked really hard. I actually did fight hard for my GCSEs, fought hard for my A levels. And this is where I was like, I didn't have a bad upbringing. My mum and dad would have been like, do you want to tutor or whatever for certain subjects? I went from like the bottom sets to, towards the top sets, like through year 10, 11, smashed GCSEs in my eyes,
Did you go to a normal school or private?
No, not normal school, not private school. So it was odd. So it was like non-fee paying, but it was an all boys school. So it was absolutely ruckus, to be honest with you. Like it was the details of it. The monks left it to the men of the town, but it wasn't like private. So it was an odd mix. Like it was a proper rough school, but because it was all boys, it was mad. It was mad.
It was
all the lads. It was all the lads, to be fair. Girls' school just across the road, one alleyway that connected us. You can only imagine what went on in there. But literally, also, like, it was really good. It was a proper good mix, to be fair. Just all the lads, really. That's why it was so easy to go off the rails in year 7
Did
and
they
9.
have to change the lunch times between the boys and girls?
They should have. Let's put it that way. They didn't change the lunchtime. We had to have like a pass to get out of school, but not that anyone listened to it. But like so I went to like an all boys school, not private. Sixth form went there as well. And yeah, I can't remember if you got like a state school or what. Yeah, government funded. So didn't have to pay for it anyway. Went to A-levels there as well, worked hard in A-levels.
So was that all boys?
All boys, yeah.
A-levels too?
All the boys, yeah.
Boy.
Just all the lads, yeah.
Wow.
For literally, yeah, whatever it was. 7 years, yeah, all the lads. And then there was 10 girls actually, not sixth form in the end, yeah.
Wow.
10 girls from the sixth
Mate, that was a bit of a...
from the year below. Yeah, so there was 10 girls in the end in the sixth form. And yeah, basically went there and then went to university at Exeter. So my sister went to Exeter University. I went to University of Exeter because of the Salem, so like it was down south.
Yes.
Like, and during university, like trying to get back to the point is like, after university, I had this like jump off a cliff, and like, in my eyes, didn't regret anything. Best 3 years of my life. Like, came out with the first in economics. Not that I'm going to do anything with it, but I think it has taught me a lot of, my other life was, I wanted to be like a stockbroker, Wolf of Wall Street vibes. I was like, yeah, if I don't sail, I'll just be like Wolf of Wall Street. So did economics and finance, came out of university, and there was this period where I went full time into sailing, but I had so much time to think. Like, you can't sail for 24 hours a day. You can only sail for like 3 hours a day, gym for the next hour, couple of hours. And then there was a lot of time in the evenings, afternoons to think. And like, that was when, during that period, I did think a lot and like reflect on things like what I wanted in life. And like, sailing was, this kind of comes back to like why I'm doing the property anyway. Like, sailing was very like money in, money out, and there was no prospect of any sort of, there was obviously going to Olympics, and I had a lot of drive to do that. But was I just in my head? I was like, was I just in this for the money, or did I like genuinely want to go to the Olympics? So from the off, I was like, I need some sort of other income, so that I'm doing this for free. I'm doing this because I really like. I'm doing sailing and campaigning toward the Olympics because I really want to do it, and because money or freedom is a driver for me, and it always was because of what my dad said. I was like, okay, I need something else, not to take my mind off the sailing, but so I can focus fully 100% on the sailing and not have to worry about this little thing in my head saying, you're not making any money, or you're not going to have this life that you want to live. So,
how much can you earn as a sailor?
So professionally, you can earn quite a lot. So that's when you sail on board like the big yachts, like you can go to like Monaco, Miami, get paid a day rate, and you can earn quite a lot. But as an Olympic sailor, you're basically money in, money out. Like, it's net zero. You can live, but it's not like crazy. But the lifestyle's amazing. You get to travel. But if you go to the Olympics, you get a gold medal, then you can obviously make money professionally. You can charge a higher day rate and stuff. So there's kind of two roads to go down. But ultimately, what's interesting about sailing is only one person goes, or one team goes out in each sport. It's not like cycling where there's a team of 5. There's 5 different events. It's one team in each class, and you sail in one class, and there's literally one event. So it's not like there's 5 opportunities to get a medal. It's like one opportunity. So it's pretty cutthroat in that respect. But yeah, the money really is in the professional side. That's where like I had to know I was doing the Olympic stuff because I wanted to do it, not just because it was the only
your passion.
Yeah, it's not the only thing, just the only thing that paid me. And I kind of had that like quote from my dad ringing in my head saying, he regrets not being around more when I was young. He was around. Like, I'm not like saying that was hard done by, but that's the only thing I remember for whatever reason. So like that was there, and I wanted to have something else that was paying me. So I knew I could focus 100% and not worry about it. So in 2019, which is when I finished uni anyway, summer or whatever, in November 2019, we started the business, and all that spare time that I had, I filled it ultimately. But like you say, like the point I was going back to the question was like, you don't have time to think. Like, a university was just like, go, 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 go. And then I came out of, say, university, I was like, loads of time to think, okay, now what else can I do? Like, I want to do the same and the property. And then, like you say, it gets to a point when I decided to stop the sailing, the same kind of thing happened. So early this year, we didn't make the Olympics, lost the Olympic trials is the official wording for it, but lost the Olympic trials. And then I had another period where I was like, I went away for a bit, like went on holiday and stuff. reflected and was like, now what? You know, like the business was, I think it was at like 30, 40 units at that point, or maybe probably at more, close to 30 units, taking on about 1 unit a month, like quite relaxing. But again, I've been like, now what? Okay, let's go again. And I think it is a bit of like, keeping myself busy a little bit, to be honest. And you can tell by the way I talk, I'm wanting to always keep myself busy, to be honest.
Yeah, I want to take you a little bit more back because I want to go more deeper into your mind. So what was your childhood like? You know, so just imagine we're looking at Daniel, who's 8 years old now. What were your parents actually doing? You said your mum was a homemaker.
Yeah.
And your father?
Yeah. So my dad's an accountant by trade. So he was like he was a financial director of like a property business. So David McLean Property. So he was a financial director there. My mum was a midwife. I can't actually remember the years that she was a midwife, but she was working at some point during my childhood as a midwife. But I think she stopped work to look at when I came to look after me. But to be honest, I was like quite a fat kid, like really fat, and like I got bullied in like year 7, 8, and 9. And my sister actually, because she's 3 years older, she actually spoke to them and was like, "Can you stop doing this? Like it's really affecting me." I think I missed 6 months of school for year 7. Or was I watched the other way around it? Well, I think I missed about 6 months total of year 7, purely because I had a stomach bug. And it's like, whether that stomach bug was real or not, you know, like I had a bowel problem. But I do remember some days that I would just like, for whatever reason, not want to go to school, want to be at home. And yeah, I was like a bit of a fat kid. Well, I was a fat kid, you know, I was chubby in the sheets, you know, easy pickings. And like, I think ultimately, like looking back on it, that probably was a reason why I was so disruptive in class. Like, I didn't need to be. Like, I was obviously smart enough to get my GCSEs, get my A levels, you know, go on to university. But like, I definitely hadn't unlocked my potential at that point. You know, I was very much like disrupting class, and whether that probably was because of like the bullying or whatever. But like when I found sailing, or sailing found me, that was when like things changed. Like I started to build friendships with people and like have like I was kind of like a big deal.
And how did that start? Like, where did the sailing come into it? How did you know? Because there's a lot of people out there who are trying to find out stuff that they're good at.
Yeah.
You know, for example, you know, I know little people who might not be the best at maths or English, but they're okay. They're getting by.
Yeah.
They've tried gymnastics. They've gone cricket. Still can't find that thing, but people go, you'll find the click. It will just click and it will just happen. How did you how did you find sailing, or sailing find you?
Sailing found me. No, so basically my mum, her and her dad, they had a place in Salcombe, so like down south. So they used to like sail together. And so when I was really young, my mum did try to get me into sailing. Absolutely hated it. And they were like, I can't remember how old I was, but I was like, nah, this is not for me. And then but I did like my level 1 and 2, which is like your like intro into sailing, but just quit. And I was like, this is not for me. And I played rugby, played hockey, still play hockey to this day. Played football, like did everything, you know, the classic. And then played cricket as well in the summer. And then about year 9, I think it was, one of my friends at school, in the all boys school, all the lads, was like, "Oh, come down to this like dinghy club on a Thursday night." And it's just like a literally like Thursday night fun thing. Went down there and just like, it just started to, you know, I went down one week, another week, started to click. I was good at it, you know, I got better at it quite fast and just enjoyed it. And I think the timing of it all, I think like, you know, going into year 10, 11, or like, year 9, 10, 11, and I just went into, you just know, I think you just like, you go and like, I started to get better, I got my own boat, and it's very like, sailing scene.
You got your own boat?
Yeah, so like you can, so like it was its own boat, it's a small boat, it's called a topper. So not like crazy money at the start. But
how much is a topper?
A topper, I mean, you can get on like a cheap one for like, you know, 600 quid or something like that. So
600 quid?
600 quid, something like that, yeah.
And how big is that?
Probably like, you know, I should probably know the actual meters. Probably like, you know, 2.5 meters.
What is it, just for one person?
One person, yeah. Just,
okay.
So it's called a dinghy. So you can probably get like a photo up, whatever. But yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a topper. That's what I started in. And like, there's like Northwest Zone squads, and like the structure of the British sailing team is like really like bottom loaded. So it's called like the Royal Yachting Association, and they try and get loads of people in at the start. So it's quite a low barrier to entry. Obviously, it's like you need to have some sort of money to get a topper, but you can like rent from local clubs. There's loads of ways to get into it, like communities to get into it. You can like use local club boats, take them away sailing and stuff. And this is where I'm like, I didn't have a hard childhood. Like, I was fortunate enough to be able to go sailing. Like my mum and dad could take me on a Thursday, and then on a Saturday they do like weekend races, and my mum and dad would take me to there as well. So that was all like the timing stuff, and like my dad was around more at this point as well. So like I said, he wanted to be around when I was a kid, but he was around more now. And so with the top, when you have the topper, you then go into the lower squads, and just there's a weekend circuit, like a little racing circuit, mini F1 circuit kind of thing.
Where would you be racing?
So like lakes, just lakes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where the first dinghy club was, a lake around where I live, in Nantwich, up north. So you just sail on the lakes, and then like as you start to get a little bit better, it's like you get little talent scouts kind of thing. There's like as you perform better each event, you get selected for certain teams, and you start with like the junior squads, junior zone squads, junior intermediate squads, junior national squads, and then you go into like youth squads and stuff like that. And I actually didn't get into the national squad. I got into the national intermediate squad, which is like secondary,
right.
Because they take like a certain amount of females, a certain amount of under 14s, and that like knocks me out the rankings.
Right.
But then I actually performed better than I ever did in the mid-level squad, so probably good for me, to be honest. But yeah, like once you're in the sailing pyramid, it's like quite a well-trodden path of like where you need to go. And if you're good at it and you start to get better and you get the right coaching, then you start to like get in the right direction. I think for me, I had a growth spurt. Like I then was no longer fat because I did all the sailing. I played a lot of hockey, and I think like everything kind of came together. And I think I just enjoyed what I loved about sailing was like every day was different. Like no day was the same. It's not like running where like you could probably have. I mean, they'll probably say like professional runners will be like the humidity is different or whatever, but like you couldn't just like sail faster and be better. Like it was very mental. Like you had to know where the wind was going, all the meteorology, and there was so much to it. So there was always something more to learn. And back to the point, I think like I just really loved like the whole idea around the sailing and like how it could get better each day. It was all on me. Like I was just the one in the boat. Couldn't blame anyone else. Like all self-ownership. Like just me out on the boat, getting better every day, trying to beat people competitively. And that's kind of like, I just fell in love with it. And
what are some of the things that you need to do on this boat to make it go faster?
Yeah, I mean, we can get into the details, but like there's a lot of, when you get to the highest level, so when we get to like the Olympic level, there's so much, every single bit of equipment can be different stiffnesses, that makes a massive difference in terms of performance, like aerodynamics and all that. On the simplest form, it's like pointing the boat, you can point the boat in the right direction, and you can trim the sails with a piece of rope, trim the sails to be tighter or looser, again, like on the right course. And then you can put the boat in different places on the race course. So there could be more wind on one side, there could be less wind on another. You got to read the clouds to see where that is. Like might be more waves on one side, less waves on the other. So like if you're in the sea, there's tide. Like there's a conveyor belt below you. There might be more tide on one side. How do you check that? The wind shifts every single second. Like
Wow.
You can tack on different shifts, and ultimately the course is up and down, but you can't go straight up and down. You have to go zigzag. So there's so much to it, and like it's just an absolute wormhole, in terms of like what can you do to make the boat go faster.
Yeah. And what sort of training do you have to be doing to keep physically fit for this?
Yeah, I think the problem, like no one really knows about like sailing, so everyone's like, I guess you just sit there and pull ropes, right? But like a lot of it's a lot of core. Like it's one of the like only sports. Well, a lot of sports use all your muscles, but you do really need. You're at like zone 4, and you also need to think. So zone 4 is like sub-maximal heart rate, but pretty up there, and like you've got to have strong legs, strong core, strong back muscles, biceps. You lose a lot of pecs. I don't really have any pecs. I mean, I've always lost them. But you do like, examples of training would be like long endurance bikes to try and get like a high heart rate for a sustained period. And then also like heavy weights in the gym for like explosive movements. But like I said, there's no like niche. It's not like I could just swim faster or I need to do more laps. It's like, it was just full body, all your core, and like muscular endurance with explosive adaptations. So like, it is really quite unique in that sense, and that's what kind of drew me to it as well.
I thought you needed like really good grip.
Yeah, and again, yeah,
your hands are massive.
Forearms, yeah, like forearms is a massive one. Again, like if you're like basically what happens is when we were in the 49er, which is the boat that I sailed, you just get massive biceps, massive back, massive forearms, and then you just have like you try and have a really strong core basically, and then be able to like cycle long distances.
you know when you're at sea, you can never predict, what can happen with nature. Obviously you can look at weather forecasts and if it's going to be good and not too wavy. But I've seen some things that happen along the waves.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about an incident that was a bit
Yeah, like
crazy.
we've had some fruity ones for sure. And I think like the biggest one, most of the time it happens in training. But it did happen like in Greece, for example. We're in where was it in Greece? Where it had the Europeans in Greece, and we're out sailing. There's like no wind, and then you just see this like black line like of clouds coming towards you, and everyone's like capsized. So like if you sit the boat upright, that's when like the mast's in the sky, and capsize when the boat's turned over. And like you capsize, like sometimes you capsize. It is what it is. You hit the deck and you capsize.
Which means you're upside down.
Upside down, yeah.
And so what, you have to swim up?
You have to swim up and stay on top. But this was like, they were like, you need to capsize to handle this storm. Storm came like flying through. It's like hail coming down. It's like 40 knots. Absolutely crazy. People who had like their rig in the sky, so the mast in the sky, were like folding over, like the rig was falling down. But like, you have moments like that. But also there's a lot of safety boats. The most of the time, it actually happens in like training where you've gone out, like you say, it's unpredictable. Massive cloud, massive front comes through, or like, and something happens where you break something and you've got to like call someone to come collect you or something like that. Fortunately, nothing like too bad's happened. But the ones that are like scarier when you're like racing and you go around the top mark, there's like 15, 25, 30 boats coming around the top mark, you capsize or you get flung around the front. Impact, like you get a bit concussed or you get caught under the sail or something. And like the main thing is like getting caught under a sail, and unfortunately people have passed away on bigger boats where they get caught under the sail, and that's why a lot of the bigger boats, the faster boats, carry, we didn't have to do this, but like they carry oxygen, stuff like that on them. So like you'll see in the sailing you see on TV, like the F-50 and the America's Cup, they all have like oxygen tanks on them in case they get caught, they can still breathe.
Wow.
But on like a much smaller scale, yeah, there's some moments where like you go around the front, don't really know where you are, you're under the sail, you come up, you hit the sail, you're like, fuck, I didn't take enough breath for this, go back. And there's probably been like two or three moments where I've been like, come up and I'm like, because I'm at that point I'm sailing with someone, so there's always a partner, and they'd be like, you're out, mate, and you're like, yeah, I think so. It's like, yeah, just about. So there are like smaller moments like that, but like on the bigger scale, yeah, it's unpredictable. That's what I loved about it.
Have you like sailed in different seas?
Yeah, for sure. Like, so we've sailed in like, you sail on the Atlantic. I haven't done like transatlantic crossings or anything big like that. But yeah, I mean, we sailed. I've been all across the world, to be fair. So I went to Canada, went to New Zealand. Where else have we been? Been Greece, yeah, as well.
So what's the difference? But do you see the difference between all the seas?
Yeah, so like the biggest ones, like the waves. Like we go to Lanzarote to train, we used to quite a lot.
It's quite windy there, no?
Yeah, so like northern trade winds. So like it's literally an island off Africa, so it's super windy. But what's amazing, like because you're we go south of the island, so because you're behind the island, you can either go no wind, a bit of wind, a bit more wind, and you can literally go out and just get windier. But the big thing is like the waves. The waves have travelled so far to get there, so they're so unique, they're absolutely massive. And like the same as like Cadiz, if you go to Spain, Portugal, the waves in the UK aren't normally massive. They're just a bit different. They're like steeper rather than longer. So yeah, I mean that's another. Every single ocean is different.
And how high are some of these like waves?
Yeah, I mean like how high is a rig? It could be like 8 meters, something like that.
Wow.
Something like that. Sometimes you can only just see the top of our rig, which was I think that was about 6 to 8 meters. So like massive. Like some of the photos are pretty cool. Yeah, and like it's awesome. Like when you're out there, the scary ones are the steep ones. Like the biggest ones. The ones that are like 10 meters, whatever, or 8 meters, they're the ones that are like really rolling and they're fun. You surf them, it's like you go really fast. But the scary ones, the really steep chop, because like you can't get around them and you just pitch pole and go over.
Wow.
And that's normally like wind driven chop.
Can they break your boat?
Yeah.
Drop in like that?
Yeah.
What about in terms of animals?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's scared of sharks and whales and stuff like that, killer whales and stuff.
Yeah, so like there's been some like stuff in the like if you go on like they did a world championship in Oman and there was like sea snakes, stuff like that. Obviously you got like sharks and stuff, but I mean everyone says that, but I'm like I don't know, like we have dolphins quite a lot. It's quite nice. See a lot of dolphins, turtles as well.
Oh wow.
When I was still sailing, but yeah, like I never encountered a shark myself. you know,
No.
in the water. So pretty fortunate. And like, I've never sailed in Australia, but I know that I know a lot of the Australians, and they don't rave too much about sharks in the water. I think Oman was the worst, like sea snakes. I think they had like a body float past once as well. So a bit fishy. Yeah, past the committee. But something floated past the committee boat and police had to come out and stuff. So
that's a bit of a myth then. It's like, because people actually do say that you're more likely to be hit by a bus,
yeah,
than see a shark.
yeah.
But that's the thing that will shit me up. Like, you know, I fell off my boat and I look around, there's this big great white with teeth. Like, hello.
Yeah. The worst thing is just like water quality, to be honest. Like if you go to, if there's like been a massive rainstorm and all the pollutants come out of the river, especially in like Portugal, places we've been, like if you drink the water, oof, bad for a few days. Like, you know, in terms of just like not coming out the wrong way. Yeah. Like, so the main one, like, not that it's going to kill you, maybe it would, but like that's the worst thing, like water quality. Some locations aren't great. I know like Rio was a real issue for that as well, for the Olympics they had there.
So like all that wastewater is just being released there or something.
Yeah. And that's like in lots of locations. Like fortunately in the UK, like you don't see it so much, but like Portugal, there was like a river, and like if there's been loads of rain, obviously all the rainfall goes in the river and then pushes out into the ocean, and you've got it's not so nice.
That was a bit like Thailand for me, bro. Like they go out on these big sort of like boats, and then we stop off at an island, and it's just like it goes, you can swim, and next minute it's like, like they press the flush button, and you just see a bit of bug roll. Like, oh shit, I'm gonna be like seeing something like float around in a second.
Yeah, no, that's more of an issue rather than sharks, in my opinion. To be honest. Yeah, but it is. I think some people are like scared of deep oceans, aren't they? So I didn't have a fear of that.
Like, I can't see my feet.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
So these places must be really, really deep, right?
Yeah. Like we're not saying like when we were on a smaller boat, but at the Olympic level, you're saying in like deep places. Well, the Atlantic, it's pretty deep.
People say that, you know, why are we trying to get out in space and look up there when we've got so much to discover down here?
Yeah.
Did you ever think about what's down there? And
yeah, I think like this is why some people are scared of what's down there. But like it is really cool, to be fair. Yeah, I think there's something, I don't remember the stat, but yeah, it's something about like land explored to oceans explored, and it's like it's ridiculous. And like it's cool when you see like David Attenborough and he goes down to the North Atlantic Ridge and like what's down there. It's pretty cool. But I never explored it myself too much. Diving I've done before, absolutely loved it. But you're only going like 10 meters down, which again is so small. But I just love the water, to be honest. I love the ocean.
Yeah, we can see you love it. You've become a silver medalist in the World Championships. How did that feel?
Yeah, so that was probably like the highlight of. So that was 2019, under 23 World Championships, silver medal. And like it's funny because like when I tell it to other people, it's like, oh, well, it's insane. It's like when you're in the moment, it's like, I mean, it is one of those moments where like you don't really remember like, you know, standing on the podium and stuff. And I think that's what kept like driving me. Like we won the national, like when we were at a youth level, we won the national championships in the UK in the 29er. And like looking back on it now, it's that's such a small thing. But in the moment, like it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like the 29er national championships that we won, we like weren't in youth squad or anything. We got kicked out of youth squad because of how bad we performed in the early that year. So we got like our own coach and like worked really hard towards it. And like, yeah, again, like you don't remember like standing up there. Like it's like one of those moments. And that's kind of one of the reasons I did it. Like when people ask like, what's your why for the sailing? It was like, it is like, ultimately it is like very much selfish. Like it is for yourself at the end of the day. I'm not like, I'm doing it for Team GB. I was doing it for myself, like to get a gold medal and but it was more like, the reason was my why. I was like, because stood in that moment when you're like the best in the UK, or, you know, like when you've achieved something you've worked so hard for, it's like euphoric. You're like, it's amazing. And that's what kept me going. But yeah, national championships in the UK, that was awesome, 2015. And then, silver medal at the junior worlds, the under 23 worlds was also a massive highlight. And there was like some events after that where we like came top 10 to national. But at the senior level, I never felt like we really hit our full potential. We did in like training regattas and stuff, but never on the big stage, which is something that I look back on. I'm like, I wish I'd got that senior medal.
So who are some of the top teams in the world?
So like the GB lads are really good. So James and Finney got selected for the Olympics in Paris 2024. I think like, you know, they've got a really good chance of getting gold. Just need to perform the day, and that's what's like sailing is like there's so much that can like happen, injuries, weather, like breakages. So it is, you know, and obviously you create your own luck and all that. So there's a lot of, they'll do as much as they can to, you know, stop. Ultimately, yeah, if they sell to their best of their ability, they can win a gold medal. But in the particular sport I did, the French are good, Spanish are good, Croatians, are good. GB have always been good. We're the best sailing nation in the world,
Really?
and have been for quite a long time. Yeah. So
And what do you think? Why do you think that is?
I think I guess the perceived what people perceive sailing as is like a white, a white rich man's sport, and I guess we had a lot of white rich men in England. So I think for a long time, even like if you take it way back, like the British Empire, like we were always like sailing around, conquering places. So sailing's kind of been in our blood for quite a long time, and they've just focused like quite heavily on, or did previously heavy on like bringing a lot of people through the system. And I guess a lot of people just sailed, and like Ben Ainsley was like absolutely insane. So he won like four silver medals, 1 silver medal and 4 gold medals. Had Hannah Mills as well, most decorated female sailor in the world. And it's like, so we've had a lot of the big names. I think we've always had people coming through. I think if you take it way back, like we've a sailing nation, and always have been. So I think that's kind of like where it's gone back to. And they just focus really hard on bringing people through the system.
Where's your discipline come from? Like, as you said, growing up, your dad wasn't always there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, you need to do this, I'm watching you.
Yeah.
You're a bit overweight.
Yeah.
So that requires a bit of discipline, what goes in your mouth and showing love to yourself. Where did it all change? Where did it all, I'm going to eat this, train here like that. I want to become the best. It's all on me. Like, where did that transition happen?
Yeah, I think like I tried to reflect on this and like work out like, when exactly did it happen. But around that, for me, it was when I started sailing. I think naturally, like I started sailing, had a bit of a growth spurt. And in the sailing, like when I started getting coached and stuff like that. And there was always something that I worked towards. And that was the first time I'd ever really set goals or anything like that. And kind of, so that, I guess that's where it kind of started. But I think, whilst my dad wasn't around as much when I was like a kid, and it sounds like really bad when I say that, but it's not. It wasn't that bad. But like when he wasn't, I think I could see he had a lot of discipline. I could see what he was giving up to provide us with the opportunities we had. So that's always been in my, it's always been something that's been like deep.
It was a good role model.
Definitely, yeah, like massive. My dad's my biggest hero for sure still. And he'll say like, he would have wanted to be better than he is at the moment in terms of like where he's at in his life, and he's still doing well, don't get me wrong, but it's like we definitely have the same mindset in that respect of like wanting to work hard, achieve big things. But I think like the year 9 turning point, for year 10 turning point for me, I was just fed up with like, I think there was just a point where, I was obviously getting bullied. I had a bit of a growth spurt, which was like a bit of good luck. So I skinned out a little bit. And it was probably that around that, like, Gymshark phase and like getting into the gym. And there was just a point where I was like, I don't want to be a fat little kid anymore. Like, I want to, start to, look after my body. And I think that's where I'm saying the sailing did help a lot for that. It provided me like coaches with sailing, like first time ever setting goals, actually working towards something was massive. And then I kind of did that in my real life as well, my personal life. I kind of moved that to my personal life and set some goals around, getting fitter in the gym. And I look back at like the progress pics and like I used to think I was absolutely shredded, but I wasn't. But I think like a lot of it comes, I think keeping fit one is like a weird one because it is very much like for yourself, you want to like look good and stuff, but it's not, I don't think it's, I think at the start for me, it was definitely external. I wanted to look good for other people. Like, I wanted to have the rig. I wanted to have a good body so I could, look good if someone took a photo or whatever. And definitely at the start, it was like not a good, I wasn't reflecting on like, why I'm doing what I'm doing and stuff. But the discipline came from that. I just woke up one day and was like, I don't want to be like a little fat guy anymore. And like, I think the growth spurt helped with that because I was like, I'm not in that situation. But I do agree with a lot of like controversial stuff I see on the internet. And like, I do a lot of the mindset, like everyone, like we said before, everyone's in this like just routine of like doing this every day, going to do this. And routine's good in terms of like, if it's progressing towards your goals. But I just can't stand when I'm like, what's your goal in life? And they're like, I don't know, like, I want to work, I want to work in this bank for the next 20 years and it's like, mate, come on, really? So I'm like, I think the big thing is just like, actually what do you want in life? I think like with the sailing, that allowed me to, that was my focus, and that kind of got me out of my rut of, you know, being where I was, a little fat kid. And as I got better in sailing, I became a bit of like, you know, the guy in sailing. I had a growth spurt. I was starting to hit the gym, and it wasn't like I was but all of that was external. At that age, isn't it? You know, you want to be the cool kid. So that's what I was like working towards there. And then in school, I was like, yeah, well, I can just work harder and I'll get better. So I just did. And then I got better, and I was like, okay, great. You know, and like, it was just, I do think like I'm very much the believer, like if you put your mind to something and you work really hard and you don't give up, even though it goes badly, you will succeed. Like, people are always like, yeah, no, I didn't make it because of this. I'm like, yeah, but did you really want it? And, you know, did you really put 100% into it? Because every time I've done that and really wanted something, I've made it. And like, that's the same with like the GCSEs and stuff like that. And like with the sailing to extent each event and stuff like that, and getting onto the team, there's all that. So I think it's very much, yeah, I agree with a lot of the controversial stuff on the internet about that kind of thing. Put your mind to something, know what it is, and work towards it. And if you really wanted it, you'll get it.
Do you think people in the UK are lazy?
I think so, yeah. I think a lot of people, I think they maybe not be lazy, but I think the way they live their life is lazy, if that makes sense. Like, they might not seem lazy on the outside, but they're lazy for ignoring like the fact that they're not happy in their lives. You know, lazy in the terms of like not wanting to like look deeper into their lives and what they actually want to do with their lives, rather than like, well, he's not lazy, he goes to work every day, you know, he provides. But all I want to hear from people is like, I'd love for someone who's in that job and roll and be like, you know, I do this because, you know, I enjoy the job, like I'm happy, you know, I go on holiday, whatever, and you know, and you can see, you know, that actually they are genuinely happy with their life. What annoys me is like people who complain, but they still just do the same shit. And it's like, I think people are lazy for not, you know, digging deeper into what they actually want in life, rather than perceive lazy as in not going for a walk. I mean, there are a lot of people like that in the UK, don't get me wrong. But I'm talking to the majority, they're actually just stuck in the rat race. Rather than...
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. And I hate to say it, like, there's so many foreigners who come to this country and take full opportunity, and just zing past the people who are just lazy. Yeah. You know, we've gone through a position where, like, we've gone through generation of benefit Britain, and people just accept that lifestyle and go, why should I go out and work? My benefits are coming in. I'm good. I'll have my, you know, can of beer. I've got my fags. And I'm all right. I'll do a little hustling here and there, you know, if I have to, and I'm good. Whereas I can see a lot of people from Europe, from Southeast Asia, that they've come and set up businesses because they go, right, I just need to set that shop up, work hard, you know, work, you know, like it's not forever.
Yeah.
And I've seen builders set up big building companies, and all of a sudden they're taking all the massive contracts that you can see, all these skyscrapers, all of these cranes going up, and you're just thinking, how are they able to do it? They couldn't even, English wasn't even their first language. You know, and it does what's it called, it does upset me a little bit,
massively,
you know, because you just think all you ever do is just complain, moan, and you could do something. And when you're trying to do something yourself, all they say is, oh, you're crazy, you're mad to do that, or why are you doing that for? Like, they'll do anything to hold you back and pull you back. Is that sort of culture going on?
I think it is like, it's where the system is like works, right? Like, you know, ultimately people want people to work hard so that they can make the millions on top. I think like it's a massive like perspective shift that unfortunately a lot of people don't agree with, like would perceive themselves not to agree with. But I do think if they really reflected on like what they wanted in life, they would be like, maybe, or maybe I'm naive to think that, but and because it's my mindset. But you know, it's like people who just take some of the controversial inputs on Instagram as like they take everything so seriously all the time. I'm like, the fact you're taking all that so seriously is the reason you are literally where you are right now. You know,
what do you think of Andrew Tate?
That's you can tell I'm talking about, can't you?
What do you think of his opinions?
Controversially, I agree with some of the opinions, but also like I don't agree with some of the stuff he says. But I take everything he says with a pinch of salt, just like I take like Kate Hopkins as well. Some of the stuff she says is hilarious. And I take it with a pinch of salt because I'm like, well, you know, that's her opinion. Like, doesn't affect my life. You know, doesn't affect my life. If I agree with them or not. It's not, and that's what I think the problem with our society is. Everyone like starts having a go. And I'm like, the fact that you have a time to have a go at this woman for these opinions, whatever, or what, you know. I'm not saying I agree with all of them or with Andrew Tate as well, but the fact that you take time out of your day to literally disagree with this guy. Go focus on yourself. Do your own thing. Have your own opinions. Like free speech, you know. That's why I like Rumble as well. Like the non-filtered YouTube kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just a place where, you know, free speech, you know, and like, you know, that's where I just think, again, yeah, people get so upset with like, you know, little clips taken out of context, and like you've got to watch long form content on these people and agree to disagree on things. Why does everyone have to agree on on certain topics? That's what our society like is now living in, where we have to like, there is a right and there's a wrong, you know.
And there's cancel culture.
Yeah, and it's like, why? That shouldn't be a thing. Like, it's just, there's certain things, like some people say some things, but it's like just taken out of context. Like, just have a joke, have a laugh, like, live life, you know, live like, enjoy it a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like if some people saw like more Xbox game chats from, you know, 2012 with the boys, you wouldn't want to see what's on there. And it's just like, God, if they had those records, you know, it's just like, it's hilarious. And like, even like in-game chat nowadays, it's just the same, but it's like, you know, you get blocked and stuff, whereas never used to. But like, it was just like, it's just the way it was.
You can't really have a real conversation nowadays because people are afraid to say stuff.
Yeah, massively.
You know, and it's only when somebody says something really outspoken that everybody looks up. That's when the real conversations actually come out.
Massively, yeah. That's what I think. That's why, you know, that's unfortunately, it's like why, you know, you have more conversations behind closed doors, because like you're allowed to talk about certain things, and like even in those, it's, again, it just feels like everyone's out to get people who are doing something different all the time. And like, I'm all for, that's where it's like an entrepreneurial mindset, and maybe I'm naive to think that other people can think that way, but like I'm all for people like doing what they want to do. Like, you know, go out and get it, and, you know, have certain opinions, as long as it's not, you know, super like, you know, bad stuff, you know, like against, you know, illegal stuff to make money. But there's a lot of ways legally to make money. You can have your opinions on things, like whether they're controversial or not, then they are opinions at the end of the day. You know, no one's getting hurt for it, then, and no one's doing anything illegal, then so be it.
I'm seeing a common trait now. I've had over 60 guests on this podcast, and it starts with me. Yeah. I was in my dad's corner shop. Yeah, I went to school. I was fat boy, you know, but where I learned entrepreneurship was in my dad's shop from the age of 8.
Yeah.
We had Adriana on here a couple of weeks ago, and she had a family who had a family restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, and she was like, hey, they needed help one day, and I started helping, and I got tips, money. You know, I'm earning. You know, we've had a bunch of different people come on this podcast, and it seems to be like, I'm not knocking school. I definitely think school is really, really important for everyone. Like, there's people say school's the worst thing in the world. It's teaching you to be an employee. Yeah, maybe it is, but it also teaches you to have respect. It also teaches you that even when you're having a cold or you're having a bad day, the teacher at the front still cares.
Yeah, yeah.
He's still there ready to teach you and go, are you okay? You'll get better. Do you need a day off? You have somebody who's compulsively nurturing you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you learn how to do some maths and algebra, and not all of these things you're going to learn in your life, but you're going to use some of these tools, you know, of the fact of, I have to get through this lesson. I have to get through this year. I need to get through these grades. And yes, there is an accomplishment. There is a certificate. Maybe I can apply this to other things. But I do think that something needs to change. Yeah, there needs to be some sort of different supplementation, because I feel that you discovered sailing and you discovered a whole different bunch of people who had different thoughts, different mindsets, could talk how they want, walk how they want. And you actually realize that you can't just point your boat that way and it will do that. Yeah. And that's exactly life. You can't say I want to be a millionaire and the best in the UK and it just happens. You actually have to put thoughts and feelings behind it. You've got to put some effort. You have to have discipline to wake up in the morning, to go training, to make sure you're handling that mass. And if you're too weak, you'll be like, I could have got that wave if I was a little bit stronger, or if I was a little bit more agile, or if I spotted it quicker. But you know, I feel that you learned that at a young age. Massively. Which has sort of enabled you to apply that something outside of the system.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you when you put it in like that, in that frame. Like when I was sailing, like I said, it was the first time I ever introduced to goal setting, like, and realizing that like I had a goal and I like, this is the steps that I need to do to get towards it. And if I did those steps, I like achieved it, probably got close and I failed a bit, and I was like, it feels bad. I don't want to do that again. I want to do this, next time. And like, yeah, it's not a coincidence that it literally at the exact same time, like when I got like good GCSE, got 4 A stars, 4 A's and a B, and like my predicted grades were 4 C's, 4 D's and an E.
Wow.
So like, because of how badly I did in year 7, 8 and 9, it's like, yeah, they took the predictions off there. But like, it didn't just happen. Like, created a revision planner, like stuck to it every single day, did like 2 to 3 hours a day every night. Mum sat down with me and made sure I did it, put my phone away, like stuff like that, got a tutor in a certain subject that I couldn't, or went back after class to a tutor because they provide them at school anyway. So I went back to like the extra lessons in that I needed. And then naturally, like actually did work at school because I was like, oh, may as well, I'm here.
Yeah.
But like school like not the point around like school and like university, like there's something needs to change in terms of like, I think the problem is things are changing in the wrong way. When I went to school, I didn't think it was that bad, like I was there for like the social aspect of it. I think the problem was that I had to go externally to find the goal setting, and like that kind of mindset of how it's taught, that could definitely be changed. But school has a purpose, university has a purpose in terms of, school, you meet people, have a social circle, work out like you said, discipline in terms of there's like a structure. And there's definitely things that can be done, but the problem is like we're focusing on like woke culture rather than like trying to work out how we better, make school better to prepare people for the outside world. But I think the problem is, as two entrepreneurs, we want to prepare people in a different way to what society wants to prepare people. I think society is preparing them in the exact way they want to prepare them, so that when they come out of school, they go to university to do a subject that they need to do to get to their job that they want to stay in. They want them to stay in for the next 20 to 30 years. So I think something would really need to change up top to filter down in that respect.
You're absolutely right, Daniel. Like, honestly, 100%, because I'm trying to influence people, and trying to get steer them to a different way to say, look, you can do it. Half of the thing, more than half of the thing, is in your mind, which is stopping you. It's like a barrier. And it's unfortunate that when we're even doing our webinars or public speaking, the first 15, 20 minutes, it's not even about the topic, it's about the mindset.
Yeah.
It's about what's going on, and then you have to answer all of their barriers in your head for them to allow to go, okay, now I'm interested. All right, now I'll stay here for an hour to watch.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, look, let me show you Airbnb is going to turn you a 7-figure business because other people are doing it. No, it's not for me.
Yeah.
He got lucky. It was his dad's money.
Yeah.
He got in at the right time. He got at the right prices. It was his friend's flat. He's got momentum. Oh, he's too big now. It was good when you got in.
Yeah.
It was after COVID, and that's it. Now the properties are gone. They're all gone. Can't do it. You're trying to sell me a course.
Yeah. Literally.
But the actual reality is, it's like, hey, no, there's a big shift in the wealth gap.
Yeah, massive.
You've got old school landlords who have bought properties at the prices that you wanted to buy them.
Yeah.
But because they've done that, they're making enough money on just normal rentals, and they're happy because they're with their families and they're in personal time now. But now, people can't afford some of these properties, and you don't have that deposit. But guess what? There's an opportunity in the middle where there's a bloody bunch of 20-year-olds who are making a bunch of money. And this is how they're doing it. They're taking other people's properties and providing a service. Because that service, that hospitality is massive.
I think now, like, going on, like, moving on to like the rent to SA subject, like, people come up to me and they're like, how do I get into it and all this? And I'm like, I'll be honest with you, like, if you get taught by the right person and you actually know what you're doing, there's a massive gap still. Like, I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping taking on rent to SAs. I'm not stopping taking on management clients, because there's so many people doing it badly, I think, and or getting taught by the wrong people, whatever. There's still a massive market. People are like, oh, is it saturated in this location? I'm like, might be saturated for you, but I'm still 75% occupied, 80% occupied, like, still making good money. And like, the point is, the product's got to be good. You've got to be doing it right. You've got to be on the right channels. You've got to be marketing to the right people. And there's still a massive gap there. But I think back to the point on the school side of it, and people are getting taught the wrong way. I think it's hard for me with my mindset, maybe use your mindset, to look at school and be like, you need a second school, you need an entrepreneur school,
And for people who want it, because entrepreneurship is not for everybody. There's some people who just want to go, do you know what, That's hot.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I don't want to be stressed because not everybody's stress levels that's tolerant. Some people go, that's stressful. I'm getting mental health. Just give me in a normal job. And guess what? Us business owners need people who want to be employees, you know, and that's what we're in the game for. Well, I'm going to move on a little bit. And I know you've been very, very successful, especially on the sailing side of things. But as with all positives, you get your negatives and you get your high highs, but you also get your low lows. And I know, you know, you've said openly yourself that you wasn't chosen for the team. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. So, like, we had, this will get deep. So, we had, like, a really good training over there. So, what would have been the year before last, trainings between November and, like, February, March time. And then there's the first event of the trials is in April. March, April it is the first event of the trials. We were on fire, like, in Lanzarote, like, you know, had our best performance at training regattas. The week before the Olympic trials, I think we came, like, 4th at the bit event. Exactly the same people sail on that event, training event, and the Olympic trial event a week later. And, like, everyone was, like, gunning for us. Like, you know, these guys are hot. Like, these guys are, like, on it for the... not that... because we were the underdogs, you know, we were the young pairing, and like James and Finn, for example, they've been, you know, really hot on the heels for Olympic trials for a long time. So it would have I'm not saying it would have been easier for us to go, but there was like a very slim chance if we could perform and things had gone our way that we could have gone. But oh boy, did things not go our way. Like, we did not just fail, we like failed hard. So what happens is when you get split, when you sail the first 2 days is like a qualifying series, and then it gets split into a final series for the next 3 days. And the qualifying is kind of like F1. So you get a bit different. So after the qualifying, you get split into gold, silver, and bronze. 25 in gold, and silver and bronze are split between. And once you're in gold, silver, and bronze, you can't level up. So, like, if you get in silver fleet, the best you can finish in that regatta is 26th. You can't get better than that. If you finish in bronze fleet, the best you can finish is 75th, whatever it is, even those next 3 days. So you have to be in gold fleet to win it. We were in bronze fleet. So we weren't even like... considering we'd just come 4th, or I think it was like 6th maybe, at the event the week before with exactly the same people, you can only imagine like how I felt. And like I rang my mum that night, and literally, I've had loads of bad situations in the past in sailing, and the highs are high, but the lows are so low. And when I was younger in the youth squad, throwing it back a little bit, I ran up one of the hills in Portland, like crying my eyes out when we didn't make youth squad. When we again, a Mena winner regatta, like you know. Mena do really well. Ran up the hill, crying my eyes out. Dad had to come find me to make sure I wasn't doing anything stupid. This one literally didn't talk to anyone. Like, you sit down. We've come in from our day sailing. We know we're in bronze fleet. We've sailed really badly. You can't really work out what's going on. You can't work out what's wrong. You don't want to talk to anyone. You talk to your coach. You're like, with nothing to say. Yeah, cool, fine. Go home. Don't even shower. Just literally straight out the door. Walk to a nearby beach. Rang my mum. Literally sat for like 3.5, 4 hours crying to her. Like, this is the worst day of my life. Because I was like, not only had I felt like during sailing, I had so many back and forths about property sailing, like, why am I doing the property? And like I said to you, I made sure the property was paying me so that I could focus 100% on the sailing. And for the first time, that year before the Olympic trials, it felt like I'd fully committed to sailing. Like, for a whole year, I'd just put my life and soul into it. Business has gone on hold. Like, we'd agreed we're not taking any more units on. I'm committing. It's happy. In the evenings, I'll do my little thing to grow it, you know. I'll do some website stuff. But it was the first time that I'd, like, felt so clear mentally on, like, we're doing this. And just, it came shattering down, like, not even like a little bit. Like, we come silver fleet. Oh, well, like, oh. But it was, looking back, it was perfect. Like, it should have happened that way.
The perfect storm.
The perfect storm. Like, oh my God. But it was, like, like, it was terrible. I just sat on my phone crying to my mum and dad, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know why I've done this. Like, I don't know what the reason is. Is it someone else? Is it me? Is it whatever? And like, why has this happened to me? Like, all these things go through your head. You can't think straight. Next day, we're like, should we even go sailing? We had back and forth with the British sailing team. Do we even go? Like, do we go out with honour and win bronze fleet? Went out for like one race, did terribly. It was like, no, we're just not in the mindset for this. So she went home. Olympic trials, went home like just after 3 days, and like tried to work our heads out, because 2 weeks later we had the second round of Olympic trials, because there's like two, and we were like, right, if we get, and the Olympic trials can last a year, like up to the games year. So we were like, it's all right, we'll just come back and, we'll get it the next time, in the next Olympic trials. So 2 weeks later, came back, training regatta. Oh yeah, we're in for it. Like we won the training race the day before, or we were performing well in a little. I was like, okay, we feel like we're all right. We're back. We're back to like we were. Same thing. First day, absolutely the first day wasn't too bad actually. Second day of qualifying, we were on the cusp again. Missed out on gold fleet. Knew it was over. Didn't make bronze fleet, but just didn't before. I think we were in silver. I can't remember now. Anyway, finished here which is the second event. And I remember ringing my mum like, what's happened? Like, and always just ring my mum. My mum's like, mums know everything, Fortunately, I've got a really close relationship with her. But I rang her and was just like, yeah, this is terrible. Like, finished the event off. Some of my friends did really well, so I was really happy for them, teammates and stuff. And like my Australian mate did awesome. So like, I still had like good vibes. It wasn't like the end of the world, but like it was so bad that Olympic trial, and we knew we weren't going to the Olympics at that point. Like, it wasn't like we just like scraped it. We just absolutely tanked. And that, looking back on it, like, it was a perfect storm because it made me like really rethink what I was doing in my life and like whether I did want to sail Olympic level, whether I did want to, because at that point I was like, I knew like we're not going to the Olympics. Something big had to change if I was going to do it, and I either had to reframe the whole way I was at Olympic trialing, like doing Olympic sailing and stuff like that, or I just had to say, you know what, like time's right for me. Like, that was just, it wasn't meant to be. Like, I did everything I could, like especially for that Olympics. It wasn't even about the Olympics anymore. It was about, am I going to spend 5 more years to get to 2028? And at that point I was like, I need to just go step into another life. I need to go and really give property my full now. I need to step out of the sailing. I've just tried to give it my full, and I need to do it. But when I say the perfect storm, I think if it just gone average, I'd still be in the loop. I'd still be in there, like sailing, doing property, and like trying to grow both and not really have any clarity. But because it was so bad, I was like, right, like this is a real like chapter ender kind of thing, or like, is it, So officially I was like, look, I need to take like a year and a half out, to like focus on other things. Because ultimately you take a year out anyway. Like you take like 6 months off anyway, and you'd come back and try and work it out for the next, because that Olympic year 20, it doesn't, like, you're not really number one. The funding's at the top rather than the people who haven't made it. So you just like train, but you'd have a bit of time. But I was like, I need to go. There's an itch I need to scratch in property now. I need to go and just run with it. Like, so I just decided, that I was going to stop staying with my partner at the time and just really go, step full time into the property business.
Did your friends do the same as well? Like,
no,
in terms of, are
so
they still there?
Still there. So like a lot of the people. Well, one of the guy that I was sailing with, he continued on for a little bit and then he stopped, but he's still sailing, so in the sailing scene. But he's working on the America's Cup stuff, which is awesome for him, which I think is really cool. But a lot of people are still in there.
Do you ever get any FOMO?
FOMO, no. I think I miss is sailing. So I'm still going to do some professional sailing over the summer, going to Australia in December to do some professional sailing there, see a mate out there. And I'll still professionally sail, but I do, like, it was a good life, like I got to travel, sail every day. What I don't miss is like having to sail and feeling like guilty when because a big thing that I learned from the whole process was that like I constantly thought that people were judging me for being an entrepreneur as well, having my own thing. Why is he doing property? Like, why has he got this other thing on there? Everyone make jokes about it and stuff like that. Why have you got this other business or the property athlete? Like, what, what's all this about? And so in my head, and like, well, rightly, they might not have been saying that, but in my head I had that. So I always felt guilty if I was doing property over sailing. But in reality, like, if I was to do it again, I'd do it so different. I'd do it on my terms. I'd be like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm in control. This is how I want the whole campaign to run. And I think I could actually give a lot of like lessons and advice to people who, whilst I haven't gone to Olympics and stuff, I definitely could have done it better. And the only way to find that out was doing it, like having that big moment of like, oh fuck, we really fucked up. But I don't think it was, I wouldn't have like changed things whilst I was doing it. Like, you would have had to do it. The only mindset shift I had was because of that failure.
So how do you actually see failure?
I see it. How do I see failure as a whole?
Yeah, like, obviously you failed a few times. Yeah. Like, how do you look at failure?
A massive positive. Like be fast to fail is like something we live by in our business. Like you hear it sometimes, but be fast to fail. Like if you fail, the more you fail, the better you're going to be. And like I want to fail to know, where what's the right or wrong thing to do. The same with like all our business, like little bits we do in the business, like with SEO or whatever, or like little things. Like I want to push things to fail, so I know what so either if we get it right, great, cool, we succeeded. But if we fail, we learn from it and we go, okay, that was wrong. Let's do this now next time. And you try something else, fail again. Okay, try something else, fail again. Okay, yeah, got it. Same as trying to get like your first property. Like the amount of people that say no, it's the same kind of thing, like the same strategy. If you continue to fail and fail and fail, eventually you'll succeed. And like you can't have success without failure. It's like yin and yang, isn't it? You've got to, and I think, it's hard. And like when you said like not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur because you fail a lot, like you get things right, you get things wrong. But if you look back, especially for me, if you reflect on all your failures, they're the biggest turning points. Especially like even with like little things, like once we were pretty strapped for cash in the business when we had like a VAT bill and we hadn't got refinances, so I had to sell all my investments and like put all my money I had in crypto and ISAs and stuff, sold them all, put it in the business. And I was like, oh, that hurts. I won't do that again, am I? I took it back out, and now we always have a cash flow like in a separate bank. So, we always have 3 months worth of rent for all our rent to SAs just in case shit hit the fan, in a bank, just sat there. Everyone's like, why would you do that? I was like, well, this is why. Because we had our first VAT bill and none of our remortgages came through and we were strapped for cash and I had to sell my investments. I don't want to sell my investments.
So let's talk about the Airbnb side of things. This is the part that we've been waiting for, actually, the main event. What got you into Airbnb? Like, how did you know that was a thing?
Yeah. So my dad, whilst he's an accountant, had his own property portfolio, and this is like how I got into property, as a whole. But he was very much like focused on his accountancy business, and this is how it all started. So I saw what he had. So he has a small portfolio. I could see he was making money passively. I was like, that's what I want. He was like, I'm not going to put it on a plate for you. I was still sailing at the time, so he was kind of like, prove you can do it alongside the sailing. So I started the business 50-50 with my mum, and at the time my dad was doing the accounts for someone who was doing rent to rent, and because I was young, I was out of university, I'm 21, something like that. Yeah, 21. Like you can get a lot of information for free off people who are doing it. And he was quite early in his days. I think he had like 6 rent to SAs at the time, but had Airbnb management as well. And like I got a lot of information off him for free, which was awesome. And like so that's how I kind of saw it as a thing. And for me, I had like $2,500 savings that I finally had access to. The ones I hadn't actually spent on university on beers, so I still had a bit of money left, fortunately. And my dad was like, you can't buy a house, you'll need to, there's something else. This guy's doing this, maybe talk to him. So he put me in touch with him, and me and my mum went 50-50 into it. And mum, because I was saying, mum did the viewings, I did all the negotiations, I did all the systems, all the acquisitions, mum made it look nice. And again, though, like we failed straight away. Like first property we took on, didn't get professional photos, didn't get any bookings in the first month. I think we launched it in like November time. So that's when we first got the property, November the 1st. Launched it, no professional photos. Staged nice, could have staged better now, not as nice as we do them now, but, didn't get any bookings in. We're only on like a couple of platforms, no outreach to businesses. Whereas at the start, you need it's good to like have a lot of outreach at the start. So now I was like, we've lost all our money, we've $2,500 set up, mum put $2,500 in as well. And like, we were like, right, so we need to get some bookings. This changed it, got professional photos, got a few bookings. We were like, nice, that's a good learning curve. Like, we'd lost it all together. Literally, because I was sailing, I was like, it's all good, properly set up, it's on Airbnb, like, let's go. And I was like, oh no, like, we haven't got any, like, we got a couple bookings, but nothing to, like, maybe enough to cover a bit of the rent. Money was going down, we were like, right, we need to change something. Got professional photos, instantly changed it. I was like, great. Went on Airbnb, actually optimized the listing a bit, and like started to do things to try and get bookings, dynamic pricing, like just all these things that that guy had told me. I was like, I should probably implement them, So I started to implement them, and we started to make some money. I was like, great. And then this guy was like starting to build up a mentorship program. So I was like, because it was again timing right, perfect. You got 2020, so it's like we had our first unit November, December. And December, January, February, and then like around the COVID time, we got a small business rates grant, like £10,000, just grant. great, perfect, you know. And like, because when the first unit started to perform, we reinvested that and managed to get a second unit. And with the £10,000, I was like, let's just spend some of it on mentoring. So I spent some of it on 3 months mentoring. It was meant to be 6 months, but ended up being 3 months. Got it half price because I was his first mentee. So ended up spending not a lot really on the mentorship side of it. Got as much as I can from him in terms of getting the business.
What was the main things that you learned from him?
Just like the nuts and bolts, to be honest, like contracts to use, like how to approach landlords. And because this was quite early days, right? 2019, you didn't see it all over Instagram like you do now, Rent to SA. So approaching letting agents was different. Like they didn't actually know what it was. They didn't know what a company let was, rather than like now they've seen it on their own Instagram. So he taught me that, like the professional photo side of things, the dynamic pricing, how to use price labs. A lot of the early systems we used. So like, you know, a lot of like how to use Zapier and stuff like that. Like a lot of that. So like credit to him, that's what got me started for sure. And then I felt like I kind of like outgrew that. And like then COVID hit kind of thing. So I got as much as I could, definitely. And then we were kind of like he'd taken on more Airbnb management side. So I had a lot of units that way. But like Rent to SA side, we kind of actually did a similar amount of Rent to SA units. And then like COVID hit and it was like, oh, like, is this bad or good kind of thing? And we got a contract with some NHS workers. I did Facebook ads to get NHS workers in, got loads of like leads through that, remarketed to them, and we managed to fill the properties we had at that time. I think when the big COVID lockdown hit, we had, I can never remember the numbers, like 7 units. When we ended COVID, we had 14 because it was really easy to take on units at the time. And like, again, I was just like, fail fast. Like I've always said this about Rent to SA and Airbnb. Like if I'm struggling for bookings, if I just start trying to get bookings, they come in. It might sound really weird, but like it's that like the visualization thing, or like if you read The Secret before, you know, like if you start to like think certain ways, do things to ultimately it's just doing things towards your goal, you start to get bookings. Like so during COVID, I would like ring up all the care homes, rang up all the hospitals, anyone who was working, and like a lot of people were still working, contractors, councils, etc. Rang up all them and just started to fill the houses. And when we knew we could do that, it was like, right, we've still got a business here. So whilst everyone can't travel, there's still a lot of people that need accommodation. So we just took that opportunity. And because I wasn't sailing, because we couldn't sail, like there was a silver lining to that. I had a lot of time to spend in the business. And I was like, right, we need to outsource this stuff straight away because I need to sail in however long time. So we're all UK based. Mum did the viewings, Mum set them up. I spoke to the agents. It was just like, get as many as we could, outsourced, hired VAs. I had first VA, we had 4 units, second VA 6. Like we had 2 VAs by the time, you know, we had like 14 when we ended the COVID. And like for me, it was just outsource everything straight away as much as we can because I was about to go sailing, about to campaign towards the Olympics. Mm-hmm. But that's how I got into it.
What's a VA?
Virtual assistant.
And what do they do?
So in Airbnb, this is like, you need to have one. If you don't have one, then I'm like, how do you have any sort of quality? So they do like guest messages, all the booking inquiries. Virtual assistants based in the Philippines work way harder than anyone based in the UK. They work during their nights. They work like 9 to 5. So some work a 9 till, what do they work? They work like an 8 till 2 shift or something, or an 8 till 4 shift, and then someone works a 2 till 10 shift. So we're covered the whole day. And they'll answer your phones, all the guest messages. The list is pretty much endless, you know. If I work to do it all the inboxes we have, they'll do all them.
Do you have to brief them really well?
So yeah, I mean, ultimately you've got to teach them how to do it all. So like, but it's just having the right systems in place. And you've got me taking an hour to do a video of everything or whatever it is, however long it takes, saves me, you know, an infinite amount of time going forward.
But that costs thousands of pounds, right?
No, I mean, not really. Oh, in terms of doing the videos and stuff like that.
The VAs.
The VA. So VA is not. So a VA costs, like at the lowest cost, £320 a month, 40 hours a week.
Wow.
I mean, if you're getting one unit, which is £1,000 a month profit, and you want to build this property and aren't greedy, we didn't take salaries for the first 2.5 years.
Wow.
Didn't take salaries because one, we didn't need to because I had the saving, which is money in, money out. Mum was in the business. Like Dad had his accountancy business anyway, so they had their income from property, so like they were pretty, you know, good enough. I think it was 2 years actually, 2 years, not 2.5 years, 2 years. And then we started taking a small salary because like reinvesting into the business, like we didn't want it to be a job. you know? And like, yeah, so a VA costs £320 a month to get 2 of them. That's what, £640 a month. That's all your hours a week covered pretty much. Maybe if you do it right, you'll have like a Wednesday and Thursday afternoon off. We now have 5 VAs because of the quantity we have. But a good rule of thumb is we take on 1 VA for every 15 units we take on now, just because they're pretty maximum because of how much stuff they do.
So for someone managing basically 15 of your properties, you're spending about 350 quid or something.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Economies of scale, but yeah. So like to manage all the guest requests, booking inquiries, online check-in forms, because we have like a lot of systems in place, you know, all that kind of stuff, website, even like landlord inquiries, they do all my acquisition side as well. So a landlord, if they ring us, they'll ring them. They'll then send out a form to them to fill out. The form will get filled out. The analysis will be done. I'll then talk to the landlord if the analysis is right, if it works for them. So all of that.
And how do you deal with objections? Because a lot of people won't even know what Airbnb is, or you're going, can I do a rent to rent? And they're like, no, you can't. Like, what do you mean you're taking my property and doing a business on it? Like, they get the wrong ideas.
So like dealing with objections with like landlords, letting agents, stuff like that. Like, depending on how they're trying to acquire units, and like I teach this a lot to just like people on a consultation call, but like it's just such an easy sell to a landlord. If you genuinely are honest with them, you know what you're talking about, and you like ultimately you fail a few times to work out what you shouldn't say. You know, it's not like you're gonna you might not get the first unit, you might do, you might not, but there's not that many objections that would like are actually valid. You know, the only objection I would say is valid in quotation marks is that there's a housing crisis and they're like landlords that just want to give to a family. I mean, don't sell to people who don't want to be sold to. Like, if you honestly believe they think that, then fine, fair enough. Because there are landlords that I spoke to that no matter how hard you push, until they have a bad experience, they might just want to genuinely let to a family, and that's fine. Like there is a bit of a housing shortage potentially. So like that's the only objection. Other than that, house parties is a classic objection. You know, we've had a really bad experience. The classic one, we'll do a little bit of role play. Letting agent, I love this. So a letting agent, best ones going into, if you finally get to talk to the lettings manager, which is what I tell everyone to do, talk to the lettings manager because everyone else is irrelevant to talk to anyway because they've just been told we don't do company lets. Finally talk to them and they're probably going to say, we've had a bad experience in the past. And you say, well, I'm not like any other companies in this area. I know there's a lot of people trying to do this. We have security alarms on all the devices which monitor the noise levels of the property. We have CCTV on the front door. We do an online check-in form where they sign on terms and conditions. Every single guest we get an ID of who goes into the property. If you wanted to, we have a few data policies and stuff, but we could tell you who's in the property every single time. We just have to do some terms and conditions changes. But on top, and then basically you say all that, and they're kind of like, oh, they're normally pretty stunned that you've just reeled that off, and then they're like, okay, and then they'll come up with something else like our landlords don't want to do company lets, and I'm like, don't worry, I'm more than happy to jump on a call, you and the landlord, we can chat through it. Here's my information pack, and then I'm like, normally that's not real. Like the landlords, they've just said they don't want to do company lets, so I'd give them the information pack, and I just have fun with it. But like, come on, like what's the real reason? And like the only real valid reason, again, like forget about the letting agents isn't going to say there's a housing shortage. They're not going to do that reason. But a letting agent will go down the route of like, we've had a bad experience in the past. And that's where you just say, look, I'm not like anyone else. Like, look, here's my business. Like, you know, and if someone's new, I always say like, try and work with someone. Like my mentees work with me so that they can use my business as an example. So they're like, I'm working with Dan. Here's his business. This is what I'm doing. You know, get a reputable business that you can then work alongside. But when you start to show them, and again, talking to a lettings manager, they're normally stunned you've even made it to them because not everyone's always calling up. Like, don't call up a letting agent. Go in there and talk to them. Step one, you're different to everyone else. Step two, you've made it to a lettings manager through a few techniques. And then step three, you've actually got answers to the rejections that they say. And yeah, the only one they come to is like the classic, yeah, my landlords don't do company lets. And I'm like, no, come on, you know that.
Do you need like special insurances? Like, you know, does it invalidate someone's building insurance if you're doing like short-term lets on it or something, or their mortgage or something?
Yeah. So there's a bit of a grey area here in terms of like, one, trying to get an SA mortgage is like, we got 3 mortgages like year before last. Like the banks don't even know what they're offering. You know, the mortgage companies, they took it to the last day of the offerings and stuff like that. So there's insurances you need to have as a business, like as an SA provider. So you need to have like content insurance, public liability, property reject scheme, all that side. But as a landlord, what I always say is like check with their building insurance and check with their mortgages. Okay.
And are you protected through the platforms, or is it a separate insurance you need to get? So like, is it like Airbnb will protect you through that, or will
No,
you
so
need
you need to get
separate?
a separate insurances, yeah. So you need to get contents insurance and public liability insurance, which will basically protect you for
that property individually?
Each property, get that, which is, if you get including top-up cover, again, a failure that we had. We got all of our furniture, we had contents insurance excluding top-up cover because it was cheaper. I was like, okay.
What's top-up cover?
I'm going to get to that, yeah. So what's basically, we got fully, like our house got robbed, or you might have seen on my Instagram. They took everything, door handles. They tried to take the sofa, but couldn't get it out, TV, everything like that. Couldn't get any of it back from the police because we only had CCTV on the front of the house, not the back of the house. They took it over the back wall. So now we have CCTV on the front and back.
Wow.
But we went to the insurance, they were like, oh yeah, it doesn't include theft by paying guests. That's top-up cover.
Wow.
I was like, I see. So now we get top-up cover. So it's £246 a year per unit that you need. Can pay it by monthly if you wanted to, but that means theft by paying guests, fires, damages, theft by non-paying guests, everything. So yeah, you need to get that per property for a rent by stay provider. Yeah.
So now a friend of mine recently, she was like, "Oh, you never guess what happened on Monday?" I was like, "What?" They go, "They bloody pulled the camera down, and the bed linen, Dunelms, all of that, they've taken everything."
Yeah.
And one of them accidentally texted me a little while ago, and she was like, "You bloody stole everything." Goes,
Yeah.
"No, I didn't. It was my friend." But they proper trashed the place. Like,
Yeah.
but I've recently set up a Airbnb, and that must be heartbreaking because you put your heart and soul into these places.
Yeah.
It's like your little baby.
Yeah.
Like, these colors will match, that photo frame, that little table, a little blue light there, and then someone's come in and just trashed it.
Yeah. The worst is, I think, like, fortunately for us, that one that got robbed that was our first ever unit we got, and that was 3 years later. So they did us a favour, to be fair. They took away furniture. The finance was already paid off. Like, it was a bit old anyway. The property we actually, although I don't know why, this property was like 9.8 on booking.com, 5 out of 5, and it was a 4.8 out of 5 on Airbnb. So many reviews, but it was damp. And like the reason we gave it back was because the landlord wasn't going to sort the damp, and he just rented it out normally anyway with damp, which is obviously not good, but that's just what they do, don't they? So that was that landlord. So we gave it back. So they did us a favour, to be fair. But it was like 2 days before Christmas. We refurnished the place in 1 day. Or 2 days. Like, fortunately, we didn't have a guest check in the same day. Blocked that night, ordered it all, picked up from Dunelm the next day, refurnished the whole place. Guest came in and we were fine. But like, that's an example. Yeah, you do. Like, the worst is when you've just set up a unit and then they take everything. But that's where you've got to have a lot of things in place. Like, we have terms and conditions that all the guests sign. Got the security cameras on the front and back. Like, our VAs monitor the security cameras literally 24/7. Like, obviously they can't monitor after 11 p.m. But as soon as they get in on 8 a.m., and to be honest, some of them just work out of hours anyway, they've got all the notifications, go through all the security cameras, make sure there's nothing weird going on. So we're really protected on that side. And like the recent one where we kicked someone out before they even had a party because we knew they were going to have a party. Guy said nothing. We literally earned £750 for a one-night stay. Then he didn't even stay. So it's like, if you have the right systems in place, you should hopefully.
So do you take them one-nighters?
So we don't not on the weekend. So this is like we recently changed pricing software, and for whatever reason, that property there was an orphan night on a weekend. So the price was like 175% higher than what it should have been. So great nightly rate, but all the red flags popped up. You're 21 years old, lived in a local council estate in the town. Security deposit failed 5 times, but finally went through. Like, said he was staying with his girlfriend for one night in the city centre, but booked a 3-bed house. And then as soon as they turned up at 3 p.m, there was 8 lads turned up, balloons, speaker, beers, and we caught them on the CCTV, and we just said, "You've lied." And they left the key underneath the. This is all my Instagram, but left the key under the bin. We went round because we were in the area, setting up another Airbnb. Took the key, opened the door, put their stuff outside in lockable storage, locked the door again, took the key. Told them we're taking everything out of the house, as per the T's and C's. We're taking their deposit, they're not staying tonight. Didn't say anything. They came back, took all their stuff.
Wasn't you scared?
Was I scared?
Was you not scared? All these boys there, you
All
never
these
know
lot.
people are
Yeah,
carrying
no,
out
that's the thing. Like,
carrying the shanks and all
yeah,
that.
well, I mean, we had a lot against them. You know, we had literally had their photo, we had their ID, we had, you know, videos of them, and so we had like videos of all their stuff coming into the house, like we had so much evidence against them. I think he was just, you know, bricking himself that we were going to dob him into the police. I think he'd actually had a bit of a business going. I think he'd sold a package deal. He booked the accommodation, put all the balloons in, put the speakers in, because NOS is now illegal now, so as well. So he had like 6 canisters of NOS, which is in itself was like 300 quid. So that's illegal. We were like, so all of that, and like, I found some weed as well in one of his bags, and one of the like when we were taking out the stuff. So we were like, look, get gone. So I think he was pretty chuffed that we didn't call the police, to be honest. But we don't take one nights on weekends for that exact reason. And to be honest, we don't normally have weekends free. We just really, when we change softwares, made a mistake. You know, there you go. Not always perfect.
Yeah. What are some prime locations? Can this model work anywhere?
I'll be honest, like, I struggle to find a place that this doesn't work. Like, we operate in some, unless you are literally in the most remote location that has no reason to be there. But if a place has basically 4 of these 6 things, so hospital, university, main link train station to London, lots of developments in the area, tourist attractions, and you can go there on a weekend break. If it has 4 of those 6 things, then you're normally going to be okay. And like, we operate in Crewe, for example, and like, Crewe's not a nice town to visit, but got a hospital, main link train station to London, got a college/university, loads of developments. 4 of the 6, happy days. So a lot of areas do qualify and have 4 of the 6. And again, if you do it properly, set it up nicely, do the right marketing, I do think you can do it in most areas. But yeah, there are some areas that are like remote that probably wouldn't work, you know. But there's very few, for far and few.
Yeah. Earlier on, you said you might have potentially 40 in the pipeline.
Yeah.
That's a lot of property. Like, how do you get people queuing up for you?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's pretty crazy at the moment, to be fair. I think since I've gone full time, and I've done all the things that I've wanted to do, because when I was saying, a lot of it was like prioritization. I did like the low hanging fruits, didn't do the big stuff that I needed to do because I was obviously focusing on the sailing rather than, and like I said to you before, we stopped taking on units. We just kind of like, you know, we were building some website stuff, but we were just kind of like, I was focusing on the sailing. But now, you know, all the SEO stuff we paid, like, again, invested into, again, another ballsy move, but invested into that early days is now like reaping the rewards. We get we get about 1 to 2 leads a day through our website, Airbnb management or guaranteed rent. Not always in the right locations for us, but I'm looking at building a group to sell on the ones that I don't, or not sell on, but pass on the ones that I don't use, because there are a lot like HMOs, stuff like that. So we get loads of leads through that. A lot of word of mouth stuff as well nowadays. People coming back to us, and a lot of outreach as well. Like, I still continue to, you know, try and get to networking events, talk to people. But yeah, our pipeline's massive. Yeah, like trying to keep track of all the acquisitions is quite hard, and that's why we're going to hire UK staff to basically do all that at the moment. Because yeah, we've got probably, like I say, we've got 66 set up at the moment. That includes like the ones being set up as we speak. But yeah, we've probably got 40 of which 10 have already said there, or 15 have probably said they're coming on, but there's delayed refurbs or whatever. I've got a block of 6 apartments in Chester as an example, but the other are like through the pipeline. So we've got like some contracts have been sent, some analysis has been sent, some are brand new leads yesterday, like the initial conversations have been booked in for a call next week or something. So yeah, like the pipeline gets filled up through our website, word of mouth, and then yeah, just getting out there still.
If I've got like a 2-bedroom property and I've got like a lounge downstairs with a sofa bed and a kitchen diner, is it all right to have like 6 people in there, like 2 in each room?
Yeah. So we do, yeah. So we have so as long as you're like, there's certain houses that aren't big enough to like ultimately can't house 6 people, but like all of our 2-bed houses, we have like 4 on one street in Chester, all rent to SAs, all 2-bed terraces, all have a sofa bed in the lounge. They very rarely use it, but like that one weekend that someone's staying for the Chester races, paying 200 quid a night, they're going to want the sofa bed, and like they do. So like it works, yeah. And yeah, I mean, as long as like it's big enough, then it's fine. Like you're not going to get someone staying for. You'd question it if they're staying for a couple of months, but weekend breaks, I think it's really good for. If that's your market, yeah.
So where's the challenge?
Where's the challenge in Airbnb?
Yeah.
I think for me right now, the challenge is acquisition speed. I think being able to take on that many units at once. We're focusing this year on trying to take on blocks of apartments rather than individual units. And I'm just trying to put together, the challenge for me right now is putting together a system that we can continue to maintain our quality and onboard individual units faster. So that's like individual management clients. Because at the moment, like, whilst we've got all the lead generation getting into the pipeline, once they've said yes, it's still like a bit of a manual process in terms of like to maintain that quality. Like someone needs to go to the property, make a list of advisories, then they need to do the property information board and get the photos. So it's like they need to be there for like a day, but 2 days, because they need to go first, do the advisories, make sure the advisories are done, get the photos. So we do charge an onboarding fee for that, but it's just trying to the issue for me, which is a good issue to have, right, is being able to take on as many properties as you can, and that's why I'm going to hire someone to be an acquisitions manager, basically.
What I'm trying to get at is, obviously at the start everything was a challenge, getting a VA, someone to answer the questions. Might have been you or your mum first, buying the stuff from, am I going Dunelms, am I going Sainsbury's, am I going M&S, am I going IKEA, I'm putting this furniture together, and it's like a lot of these boxes have been ticked off now. You're like, they're doing that bit, all right, I'll go in the first day, I'll set it up, it's set up, it's another another tick in the box now. It's just another, just add another property, make sure they know about it. Here's the video for them. Like, the challenge, although you're growing, is becoming more like a job. It's just like, right, I've taken this property on, I've got to go and do this. The motivation is like, hey, the bank balance is going up, or it might be going a little bit sideways because you're acquiring more properties, reinvesting. But where's the challenge now? Because I know you.
I get you.
You're a sailor. You're the guy who was fat, who's not fat anymore, and you found something new, and you're not speaking to me like that again. Or I've found my calling, and all right, I've sort of failed in sort of sailing, so I'm going to take this in. You're always going to be chasing for the next thing.
So like, the next thing for me, like in terms of that, and this is something I've reflected on recently, like when I went skiing over New Year's, I was like skiing over New Year's, and like we had a new acquisition coming on, and every night I had to do this like one email, back and forth questions to this landlord, and it took me like 10 to 20 minutes because the questions, and they eventually didn't even come on with us because they wanted to operate against regulations, and I was like, I'm not going to take a property to operate, and I was like, that time was just so wasted. I was like, and then that moment I was like, this business is great, but we don't have a business that we could sell right now. Like, if I stopped doing everything right now, we wouldn't grow, and we'd go along. I think quality would potentially dip a little bit, honestly, like in terms of like some of the VAs might not know, like there might be a few niche questions on some new properties that we get on, but most of it's covered. So like we could sustain what we are, but at the moment we get, paying out 4 salaries, all my family, myself, my sister, mum, dad, great stuff. Because my dad's now in the business, now he's come into the business as well. Because my sister's, she's just had a newborn, little Harvey, so he's New Year's Eve, so he's on maternity for the next 9 months, which is a benefit of having your own business. We can do that. But like, I've had this reflection, and like over the since stopping sailing, it's been like non-stop, like you say, and I've gone, actually, like I want to make this a business that we can sell. So like this year for me is like turning it from it's a small business in my eyes, of where I want to be. So a small family business into an actual business that has acquisitions and sales manager, marketing manager, like cleaning manager, maintenance manager, UK-based office. Like, I want to take it to the next level, and that's kind of the challenge that I'm trying to basically get to this year. That's the next step for me, and that's what I really want to work towards this year.
Mm-hmm. So you say you turn over 7 figures. What is the profit that you would get out of that roughly?
So right now we've got 26 rent to SAs, and we've got 40 management clients. So the 26 rent to SAs, they profit, let's say, £800 a month. Let's say, be pessimistic on it. They probably like our account share, they profit more like £1,000. But if we do £800, that's like £21,000 a month profit on the rent to SAs. The management clients, if we said £300 profit a month, that's our management fee, let's say. In reality, we have management clients in London, so we get like £500 a month. Let's say 300, so that's 12 grand. So between them, 33 grand a month profit operating, ultimately that's not what it says in the bottom line, because we have administration costs, we pay out our salaries, dividends and stuff like that, but you're always trying to make that bottom line zero. So operating profit, you're probably 33.
What's more attractive, actually getting the rent to SAs yourself or managing other people's?
So like At the moment, the management, there's no risk. So, well, the only risk is that you keep the property empty. But, we have a good system in place that doesn't happen. So, like management, there's no like upfront cost. You actually get paid to set the property up. And it's just like instant cash flow, Whereas,
And how much do you charge for that?
so we charge 15% management fee. We charge a £500 onboarding fee, which includes the photos and
Staging?
Yeah, staging and photos. So, yeah, includes staging and photos, and that includes like the advisories as well, like helping them out with like onboarding and stuff like that. We do have like a separate if it's fully unfurnished, they want to do a full setup fee. We charge £2,500 full setup. We do it for them, and they don't have to do anything.
And that's in terms of what beds and stuff.
So that's not include any furnishing. So that's just my time to set it up to our standard. So we charge, but the management, 15% management fee, £500 up front for the photos, and so like you can onboard a client and then charge 15%. But the thing of you hear people say like make your clients, like work with wealthy clients, you get paid more. It's literally so true. Like a property in Crewe, for example, like a 1-bed property in Crewe, we might only make £200 a month at management. Property in London, Battersea, we get paid £1,500 a month for. It's on 10 grand a month revenue. So that's where this year for me it's growing in London, Manchester, the big cities, Liverpool, and we want to keep like a 70% management, 30% rent to SA. Because I mean, the benefit of rent to SA is higher profit margins, a bit more risk but higher profit.
How are you locking in your gains?
My gains.
Yeah, how are you locking them in?
How are we locking in the gains?
Yeah, you're getting good cash flow right now.
Yeah.
What are you sticking? Are you sticking anything on the dartboard? Like, are you putting any assets under your name?
Yeah. So
something's left over after this.
Yeah. So like ultimately, we don't take out all the money just for ourselves. Yeah. So we have another company, a holding company, which have our assets in. So we've done three projects on that, 4 projects in the property. We did 1 flip and then 3 buy-to-lets. So we've got 2 that are on buy-to-SA, 1 of them to buy-to-let. And ultimately, the cash flow is building a pot that we're just investing into our own properties.
Must be a little bit less enticing where the growth is a little bit slow on that side, no?
It is, yeah. Ultimately, you don't want to be sat. We don't want the business, if the business just stopped tomorrow, have anything, it'd be quite annoying.
Because I suppose, I've been in the real estate game 20 years now.
Yeah.
I've seen masses of changes. I've seen people do Jack and Jill sort of like two flats out of a house, just put plasterboard partitions up, and the councils haven't said anything to, no, that's not allowed anymore, there's a soundproofing, to then that's totally not allowed because it's more community housing, to people setting up HMOs and chopping up, lounges and renting out rooms, to now Article 4's coming in, and that's a real niche if you can do it, if you can't do it. So the market is always changing. Then licensing has come in, selective license, HMO licensing, and more regulation is coming in, and where potentially there is a housing shortage and more, you're scaling a mini hotel business essentially, for people who are traveling and want to stay or have a city break. I do see there is something broken in terms of the hotel business. I go to a lot of places and I was like, this looks like I'm in a 50-year-old icky place, horrible carpets, it smells like someone's had a smoke in here. Everything looks dated, like you're watching an old American movie, So these new Airbnbs are like looking, suave, like when you go and there's lovely colored pillows, you can actually see someone's really thought about this. However, it's only a matter of time till the councils will go, no, I don't like this.
Yeah.
How can you be doing these short-term lets? You're taking away our community housing here, and there's loads of people, populations are growing. What do you do if, tomorrow, big regulation? Because there was a little bit of a talk about some regulation coming in.
So they've already brought in fire regs. So they've brought in some fire regulations. So we've had to do quite a lot on that in terms of implementing fire alarms in certain houses, changing fire doors in some of the houses as well. Fire risk assessments we've had to do. The normal stuff like fire blankets and stuff we've always been pretty hot on, but there was that kind of side of it. But so for in terms of going forward, one of the things, we've sat on quite a lot of cash at the moment. So we did those 4 projects during COVID basically, and we had to wait. They refinanced, must have been the year before last. So we haven't done anything the last year. Kind of building up that cash pot, that reserve pot that I spoke about, and then 2, building up our own cash pot to do a bigger project. And something I want to do this year when working with some investors is a part hotel. I hate to jump on that train, but the bandwagon that everyone seems to be going on. But we want to do apart hotel, 6 to 10 units, apartment, like block, like really nicely done up. Like,
What, are you going to build that?
not build, probably like refurb, do like a commercial, get a commercial property.
Okay.
And because it will already have like it'll be easier to get like a commercial license.
Okay.
And keep it there, because the only thing that would change would be they'd have to get new licensing for short-term lets. But if we already had like a hotel license anyway, then we'd already be fine for it regulation-wise. So that's where I'm kind of thinking, if we can put our on money, go into like buy a commercial property, change to a part hotel, get the correct licensing for hotel, and then that means when regulation comes in, we're seen as a hotel anyway, so we're fine. But yeah, I've spoke to the council locally about all the rent to SAs we have in the areas we operate, and like Chester and Crewe, we have quite a few. And councils are funny, like every council's different, right? And they've said like grandfather rights will be a thing. So like you've already been operating for a year. If you're an actual business, and if you're on business rates, it'll be easier. So whilst there hasn't been any regulation as such that's come in about licensing, and like Liverpool has selective licensing as well, that already has it. So you have to get a license for SA, but again, you're just applying it, you get it.
Yeah.
That's quite easy. But
And how do you speak to councils?
so like when you apply for business rates, you normally have you'll normally end up with the contacting councils. Because we've applied so many times, we have like a few contacts. Properties are people's business, isn't it? Like, and if you're a nice person and you chat to them, and you make friends in the right places, then it's quite easy to find out what's going on. Especially like it comes down to that: are you building a business as well, or are you just building some little side hustle? Yeah. And the way you operate and the way you chat to people, the way you talk changes, and like people can tell that without you really knowing whether you think it or not. And that's a big one. But ultimately, yeah, it's just been like over time, we've gone there so many times. I mean, we have 22 properties in Chester. Like we've gone over time, we've like had to go back to business rates quite a lot. So we have our person we go to, who we also ask about, what's the licensing thing? Oh, I'll talk to them. Okay, perfect, thanks. I message them. So yeah, just about building relationships in the right places.
And finally, like before we wrap up, Daniel, I've picked your brains up a lot, but I know you've given so much value to the people at home. It's easy you showing us a blueprint, but you just can't do it. You got to know, how do I talk to that agent? How do I set up that essay in terms of where do I go shopping? What colors do I use? Where do I get inspo from? And this is where the part people want mentorship, because they want someone holding their hand through it, because people are a little bit like, okay, well, it all sounds good. It's working for you. Well, if it's working for you, and I'm your protege, it's going to work for me. But how do I know that you're the right guy to work with? Because there's a load of people who don't even run that SA business. They run an education company and going, I know exactly what to do. And just selling you a course and a dream, really. First of all, what's your thoughts of people in the industry?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing for me, right, is like there are so many, I talk about it a lot, like fake property gurus, whatever. And like I don't want to be one of their haters, because I don't want to add to their fame by being a hater. So I'm not a hater as such. I know how Instagram works, but like the big thing for me is like if you're going to part ways with money and you're going to pay someone to mentor you, like surely you should be able to see their business on their Instagram account. Like if you go on someone's business Instagram account right now and they sell a course on Airbnb, why is their company, 53 Degrees Property, not in their bio? Like if they actually have a business, why is it not in their bio? Why does it not have a social media presence? If it's that good, it's making that much money, surely it has like a really nice website, a good booking portal. And that's a very recent one that I've just thought, all these people selling courses, you have to dig so deep to try and find their actual business. And like the reason they do that is because they have way less properties that they've either got way less properties than they're making out they have, or their properties aren't doing as well as they think they're. And the thing that annoys me so much is that it looks like they're making a lot of money, and they are off their courses that they're selling. And that's what frustrates me is that they use that money and pretend it's Airbnb money and then sell a dream that's not actually real. And that's where I'm like, you don't see me driving a Lambo, because I don't sell. Well, to be honest, I want to drive a Lambo. I would want to drive a Lambo. And I will get a Lambo.
Which one?
I was going to say Aventador, but they've gone up in price quite a lot. You know what I mean?
One Aventador is the one with
the wings. Yeah,
oh,
that'd
mate.
be cool. Yeah,
can you call me when?
Yeah, I picture it.
Please.
I can picture on the drive, G-Wagon, Aventador, and then maybe like an electric car just in case.
Oh, okay. Well,
but yeah, I mean, more back to the point. The problem is, they're selling a dream that's like not there, and like I think there's a few things to look out for. And like when I'm like, am I the right person? People, I literally don't take money off people that I know aren't going to put the effort in. Like I mentor 3 people at a time, or 3 companies, because sometimes they're business partners, whatever. Have 3 mentees at a time. I don't do more than that because I'm not building a training business. Otherwise, and I would recently actually, we can talk about this, I was going to set up an SA Academy because I have my own free private group. Everyone can just join it. It's your community. And I literally answer questions like we just have done for free, put in voice notes, drop gems, because I know that actually you need more. You need someone to hold your hand. You don't just need the thing. You need someone to be like, I need the confidence to have a call. So I do that. Consultation calls here and there, but I was going to bring out an SA Academy course that was going to trump everything. And I realized when I was building it, I was like, actually, I had 35 discovery calls with people who wanted to sign up. We had so many signups for it. I was like, this is great. And I was like, I realized that I've literally just done the exact thing I've told everyone I don't want to do, build a training business. I just said to everyone, I was like, look, the thing I want to bring out, to be perfect, I will have to put all my time into it, and it will be at the expense of my business. And I said, I don't want to be the guy who's not walking the walk and teaching people. So I was like, look, join my free community. I'll commit to do 4 to 5 consultation calls a week. So here's a link to book into them. And if you want to if you want to be a mentee, then here's my wait list. Hop on the wait list, or do a consultation call first, and let's just do it that way. And like that honesty, they were like, Dan, I love that. And I had no bad response to that. Everyone was like, I appreciate you being so honest. And like, that's what you should look for in a mentor, someone who's genuinely honest about what they want to do, what they're doing, and like actually walking the walk. And yeah, like back to the point of how can you trust someone? It's like, if you can't find their business, ask for it, and then go on their business website. Does it look naff? Do they have as many properties they say they have? Ask to see their channel manager. Ask to see their occupants, their revenue. Like I could show you right now my revenue, and it'd be 7 figures. So, and also just, ask to see their business bank account. Like their property business bank account. Why wouldn't you show that, So, because I would show someone who asked me if they genuinely wanted to join my mentorship. But like, also, you don't need a course to get started. There's enough out there for free. I think one consultation call with me is probably a life worth more than any course out there. And I just say to people who want to, even like I said to you, I don't take on everyone. I think people who do that, they're honest people. I don't want people to spend money on things they're not going to actually implement. So yeah.
How do people find you?
The Property Athlete on Instagram, on TikTok. Got TikTok running now. So yeah, Property Athlete on Instagram and TikTok. And if you click the link in my bio, you can join free community. And just click into that, you can see.
I'll be doing that.
Hopefully you'll be able to see this podcast as well on there. So.
Amazing. Yeah, you got to drop that in there, bro. Yeah. How many people in that community?
120 or something like that.
Oh, you're going to get everybody who's watching that.
Yeah, get them in.
Let's get them in.
Let's
ram it up.
Yeah.
I'll tell a few people to join that as well. But Daniel, thank you so much for your time. And there you go, guys. Another episode on Take a Seat. We've just learned all about the seas out there in Greece and the UK, how to be, an Olympic athlete. And we've learned so much about the Airbnb business. I mean, this was a podcast that, Daniel hasn't gatekeeped. Anything. I've had people on a podcast who go, that is a good question. We'll answer that off camera, but you haven't gatekeeped anything. And this is what it's all about. It's all about collaboration and sharing and giving people a leg up, especially where, they need some inspiration of somebody. So this is the channel where you're getting it at, guys. So don't forget to leave us a comment, leave Daniel a comment. He's up for answering all of them, and share this with somebody who really needs it. But until then, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Cheers.